What's it? Have you ever seen that show, Dual Survivor?
No.
Old show, but it was like two guys who'd go out and
Right.
do Survivor stuff, and it was
Right.
like someone from a military background, and then like a naturalist survivor, and the dude, his name was Cody Lundeen. He was always barefoot,
Right.
And like they went up to it might have been like the Arctic Circle or something like that, and it was like, how do you survive out there? And the only thing he put on was like one or two pairs of socks.
Wow.
And then that was just his thing. Like, it didn't matter where they were, he was barefoot.
Isn't that crazy? Well, the Native Americans believe that a big problem with the white people was that they put shoes on. They felt they always do things to separate themselves from nature. And like for us, like our program's building connection.
Right.
So I really started vibing with this thing where, if you look at it, like there's no autonomous systems in the universe. There's nothing that's disconnected that's outside of another system.
Right.
So it makes sense. Like the more connected I could be, the better I am. But we always do things to disconnect ourselves. Corners. We're the only corners are really interesting. Everything they do is round. They don't have corners.
Interesting.
Everything has a flow space to it, but we put roads to move across, not just walking on the ground. Right. So anyway, I always thought that was interesting. I like the shoes. By the way, I wear my shoes all the time. I'm the guy that doesn't wear flip flops.
Totally fair, man.
I always got sneakers on. Yeah. Jack Posey, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate you. Yep. Sorry, I'm gonna mess up the mic one more time. So, again, appreciate you joining us on the road to resilience.
Of course.
And I want to start off. There's so many good questions. Like you and I have been talking offline, and one of the things I was struck with was this set of values. You already come to a table with a real set of values and an idea of character that a lot of other folks don't have. And you said something to me about the Posey men have a set of values that's handed down. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, I was pretty fortunate. One of my best friends, we were just kind of talking about growth and how we could be better and just learning more about ourselves. And one of the questions that came up was, well, what does our last name mean? And I was pretty fortunate to ask my dad this. And I walked downstairs and he was in his office, and I just kind of walked in and said to him, I was like, hey, Dad, gonna hit you with a hard question here, but like, what does it mean to be a man in the Posey family? What does the Posey name mean to you?
Wow.
And it was something that took him back a little bit and made him think. And the three words that he described to me what it meant to be a Posey was honor, loyalty, and respect. And that if you are a Posey man, those are three words that you live by and you embody.
Right.
And that goes through his father, who was a Marine in Vietnam. And I looked up to my grandfather so much, and he was actually going through a bad deal of Parkinson's during that time. And I was glad I asked the question when I did, because my grandfather was still alive. He passed away a couple months later. But my dad got to have that conversation with me while my grandfather was still with us. And but yeah, that's something that my grandfather has always been an example for me, living those values. And my dad's done the same, and now I have a younger brother as well. So it's now our responsibility to carry those three values on through our lives and through our future families.
Right. Honor, loyalty, and respect. That's great. So take me to honor.
Yeah.
How do you manifest honor? Like, what do you think that's about?
Yeah. One of the things, one of the ways my dad exemplified that to me. So I've mentioned my grandfather was a Marine.
Right.
My dad eventually ended up starting his own company with his father, and I'm not sure of the specific military verbiage, but he named the company Alpha 6 after my grandfather's military squadron group. I'm not sure.
Right. First of all, everything's about a dope name. Alpha 6 is a pretty dope name. Keep going. I always start with the dope name. Keep going on that one. I'm in.
Yeah, so basically, he honored his father and his father's reputation and the things he had done in life by not only starting up a company with him, but honoring him in what he had done for his family and the country through naming his company after what my grandfather did. And that's a big one. Just always looking to give back to the name and keep it alive and keep it present, and just always promoting the people who have helped you in the past and have set examples for you in the past, and just honoring what they have done. So for me, it's how can I honor what my parents have done for me? How can I honor the impact that my siblings have done or that have had on me and what they've taught me? And it expands to coaches and mentors and teachers, and just honoring the fact and going out and doing my best to not only be an example for others, but just to be the best version of me, because by doing that, I'm honoring all the time that people have put into me to help me get to where I am today.
That's dope. So my joke is honor is the gateway. It's the gateway drug to gratitude, right? You got that honor and you feel like, because what you're talking about is you're going to show up for them.
Right.
And the way you show up for them is being present in your moments, like giving the best you can. So what do you think about that idea of gratitude? Like, can you see how that connects back for you? Would you say that that's maybe where you get your gratitude from?
Yeah, of course. I really think it stems from that. I mean, I start every day with just a moment of gratitude and prayer. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned through time is I've been really fortunate to have phenomenal parents, phenomenal coaches and mentors that have instilled so many great values in me. And just having all of these people in my life, there's just a sense of, how did I get so lucky that, even us having this conversation, I mean, it's something that I'm grateful for. But, one of the things too with gratitude that I think gets overlooked is like the challenges that come into our lives and my life as well. Like that's something I'm grateful for as well. In the sense of when I'm faced with a challenge, I'm grateful and thankful for it, because it's been, that challenge has been brought to me for me to learn from and grow from.
So what a great mindset. That's phenomenal. Yeah.
So, everything that comes my way, it's not only the people I'm grateful for, but the experiences, perceived positively or negatively, I'm grateful for, because I know I can grow from it and become a better man because of it.
Right. That's incredible. I want to bottle this one up for my kid. This is a good one. So we talk about in our program, like pressures of privilege, right? When you have that opportunity, that's a real privilege. You get out to show what you got, to learn from something. So it sounds like that's a spot where you could be really intentional and bring that into your play on the field. That do you actually think about that? About like when you step on the field, of like some of these ideas about this is a challenge for me. Like how do you bring that on the field?
Yeah,
how do you intentionalize that?
With the gratitude and understanding that the whole pressures of privilege. One of my game day routines, something that I like to do is one of the things I like to do for any routine is it needs to be a consistency that is always going to be there. And before every game, we listen to the national anthem. And I'm fortunate enough that my parents come to all my games and they always make it out. And I always find them in the stands during the national anthem. And in that moment, you go through warm-ups. I have my matchup. I have, we're playing a good team, or, this is going to be a battle and it's going to be a true test. But all of that gets pushed to the side during the national anthem. And I find my parents in the stands, or I try to every time, but
that's great.
That's a moment where I appreciate the moment I'm in. I appreciate the feelings that are going through my head, and I appreciate the heart rate that's going up. And I just kind of look at the flag and I'm like, okay, today's I'm lucky to be on this field. I'm lucky to have this opportunity. So anything that happens after the national anthem, it's just I'm gonna try my best. I know I've prepared, and now all it is just being present in the moment. And that's kind of my moment of self-reflection and self-awareness, and taking all of those thoughts and emotions, and just kind of packaging them up, being grateful for them, and then going out and playing.
That's a great performance routine, right? And I like how you talk about the consistency of it. It's something you got to do all the time. So take me into other parts of that. I heard you talk a little bit about the visualization. Like, do you have a mental checklist for the game and what you're going to do?
As far as something that's maybe specific every time, I play defense. So one of the things that I do is whether, throughout the week, I do a certain amount of reps of one-on-ones or watching film, and just kind of seeing, understanding my opponent's tendencies. So I've gone through multiple, repetitions of what my competition will do that I believe they'll do just based off film. So when I go through these, this kind of moment before the game after the national anthem ends, I kind of go through a quick Rolodex of these are the moves I'm expecting. This is how I'm going to react to it, footwork-wise, positioning-wise, stick-wise. And But also, I like to run a little highlight tape through my head, and I have a couple of the good plays I've made in the past that I kind of go back to, and whether it's a big hit or a nice check or a good ground ball, like I'll think of that quick, and I wouldn't say it's intentional. It definitely to some extent it's intentional,
Right.
but I don't go back to this one player, that one play, and I think about it all the time. It's just kind of in the moment. I like to kind of go through whatever's feeling right, and just think about the plays that make me feel like I'm in the moment and make me feel like I'm ready to go.
What you're talking about is super powerful in terms of how your brain works. So you're grooving. Basically, your brain doesn't know the difference between something you imagine happened and something that really happened. So what you're automatically putting your brain to is something that really happened in the past with the good move, like wherever it was, the big hit or great big check or whatever it is. And so that your brain's starting as that as a base, like we could do this. And you're instilling a positive mindset in yourself. So this is great because it's a big thing we talk about. So I'm just coming behind it one more time. In our program for kids, for adults even, here's my day. Let me just visualize a little bit and like imagine when things went right. Because we always have the speakers in our brain amplify the negative. And we always talk about it's like that guy's car you roll up to and the bass is way too loud. And it just
it's probably me every once in a while. Every once in a while.
Right.
Not every day, but sometimes.
All right. Well, we're all there. I like to sing real loud. I crank the music. But the problem is it distorts out the rest of the sounds. So your brain's built for safety. And then what ends up happening is you can it's really easy to imagine all the bad things that are happening. And the way you offset that is a performance routine in the mental rehearsal you're doing. And I love how you just naturally come to like, yeah, but you just open up the space wherever that's going to be, you're going to pull in one of those things. You're going to go through that. So automatically that sets you up for success. So that's phenomenal. And that's for the kids out there, anybody listening. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, 100%.
You got that, whatever camera I'm on. All right, we got that. So then now we come back into loyalty. Mm-hmm. Take me into loyalty a little bit. Like how do you think about that? And how do you think that plays into your day? Are there players on the team? I'll land it for you specifically. Is there players on your team you're thinking about? Is it your coaches, or is it all the above?
I definitely say all the above.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I see when you think of loyalty is it goes back to the gratitude and the honor piece, and being loyal to the people who have poured into you and who have given you so much and set you up to succeed. That's a big thing, and it almost, when I think of the term loyalty in the sense of what I stand for, it's when someone does something for me and they see the best interest in me and they go out of their way to help, it's like I'm loyal to them performing or providing the same kind of support and respect back to you.
Right.
And like with teammates, every day I have guys who come out and do extra one-on-ones with me, and I'm a pretty aggressive defenseman, and I'm physical, and it's not fun all the time, but they do so much to me, and I'm extremely loyal to them because they come out and they work with me and they put time in, and it's just not just the guys I do extra reps with. It's just an example, but like coaches who put all this time and effort, it's like, yeah, I'm loyal to you and I want to help kind of give you the kind of impact that you've given me. I want to reciprocate it. But yeah, and obviously with family, family's the biggest thing to me. I'm fortunate. I was home the other day, and I got to see. I have an older sister who's graduated from college, and she came home, and I was home, and my younger brother and my parents, and just being able to always help or just be there. Not always help, like just spending time with family is just awesome, regardless. But just being present with them too.
Being present, that's a good one.
I think that's a part of that loyalty. Like when I'm with somebody who has given me so much, I'm going to be present with them as well because they deserve it. But yeah, I think loyalty is something that I'm grateful that that's been instilled in me. Just because of it, it's enabled me to have so many great relationships. But yeah, that's probably my piece on loyalty. Everybody who genuinely helps me and wants to see the best out of me, it goes back and forth.
Right. So in our program, we call that the compassion gratitude exchange. So when somebody's night, what's interesting, the players come out, they help you, and you're like, yeah, I'm a little tough on these dudes, right? They know it. So it's not like they're just coming in. They're like, there's some physicality to it. There's some effort on their behalf. So when they do something nice for you, you have gratitude for them.
Oh,
right?
100%.
And that always, so this is like, this kind of washes back and forth, and we talk about it. So the more you show up for others, the more those other people show up for you, right? But it's not a quid pro quo. It's just these folks are showing up, and then you're like, yeah, man, I got this guy's back. And then when we talk about back to the original idea of connection, how we're all connected, this is how this thing starts to flow around, because if everybody starts to feel supported, now that you go back to pushing out to your edges we were talking about.
Right.
Pressures of privilege. Now I can feel more comfortable moving out to my edges because I'm more supported in those endeavors.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And by the way, the other thing I'll throw in here is honor, loyalty, and respect are values of character. We're all talking about character here when we talk about all these different values. So now run me through respect. Tell me what that looks like for you.
I mean, that's a pretty simple one, the way I see it. I mean, being on the Penn State lacrosse team, this is one of the biggest things that, one of the biggest values that we hold and that we have a standard of with our whole team, just, being respectful young men and just doing the right thing.
Right.
All the time when no one's looking, whether it's just, picking up trash, holding doors for people who maybe awkwardly, far away from you, but they're right behind you, just taking the extra time out of your day and just doing a little bit for other people. And yeah, I mean, respect, you're not respectful to get something, but by being a respectful person, a lot of opportunities can come your way.
Yeah.
And opportunities not just for, whatever positions or something like that, but opportunities for relationships. And I mean, you were just talking about how you talk with everybody and how you have all these opportunities to meet people and you approach them with respect, and then it's reciprocated, and then now you have all these potential relationships that could blossom. And it's just being a good person at the end of the day. And I think we all have that, that little voice in the side, inside of our head telling us, what the right thing to do is.
Right.
And it's just listening to that voice.
That's great. Well, I don't think enough people listen to that voice. Like, I think you take it for granted. I think this is pretty interesting. What we find in a lot of high performers is a lot of these folks, it comes naturally to them. So that voice in your head, some people, like I'm a Philly guy, and most people walk around Philly and they have a mean look on their face. But as soon as you say hi to that person, the mean look goes away and like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing good. So I love how, I'm going to come back to it because I love how you said, like, almost, I'm kind of maybe misquoting a little bit, but it's respect is an opportunity. Right. When you show respect, it's an opportunity for new connection.
Right.
I love how to look at that. That's such a great positive way as a forward way to look at respect. So now I want to turn you into, well, actually, before we go forward, I want to talk a little bit about the team. Is there any values on the team? Respect is a big one. Are there any values? Like, how would you know a man from Penn State Lacrosse? What would you say the values of a man from Penn State Lacrosse are?
Yeah, so we have 3 team values that we live by, we operate with, and that's commitment, compassion, and competition, or to compete.
Wow.
So, on the field, what you see is just a hungry group that competes, gets after it. They're making all the hard plays, the hustle plays, things that don't get necessarily, counted on the stat sheet. But it's all the little things that add up, to the end of the game and helps you win. And, the reason why we were able to compete that hard and do all the little things is because we have such a deep compassion for each other and respect for each other to bring that value back in. Because once you respect each other, then there's, you open up the possibility to have deep compassion and form just great bonds with each other. And, you bring up feeling supported on the field and having that be one of the things that helps you kind of alleviate some of the pressure. And because, we play hard and because we respect each other and have compassion for each other, it allows us to just go out there and just play free and fluid. And all of this kind of wrapped up, it's a newer value, the commitment piece, but I will, basically commit myself to the lifestyle of a Penn State lacrosse player. And it's doing the extra work. It's being a respectful man in the community. It's being there for your teammates off the field.
Right,
yeah.
That's a big one.
And just, living all the values and committing to it, because that's another way we kind of garner respect between each other. Because when you commit fully, we're all on the same level in the sense of everyone's putting in the work, doing the right things, and it's hard and it's tough, but we have such high goals, and such great aspirations, and when everyone's committed to it and everyone's competing hard, then it's easy to form that compassion.
Right.
And there are challenges, obviously, but there are challenges that bring us closer and make us more connected. And so when you talk about a Penn State lacrosse player, we live by the values of committing to each other, having compassion for each other, and at the end of the day on the field, we compete hard, and because we have all these things together, we play as one.
Oh, that's great, man. I love that, right?
We have a great head coach who's instilled those values in us, Coach Tambroni, and
right.
Another one of my mentors, and it's I'm proud to be a part of this program.
That's phenomenal. Well, it shows on the field. So I want to move into some of the stuff when things aren't going well.
Right.
So tell me, like I think preseason you guys are 5, 6. I don't know if you're paying attention to any of that stuff. Something around there, right?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, whatever. But how do you take me through the end of last season? And as a captain, like that was a pretty heartbreaking loss, and maybe you can walk people through what happened there.
Sure.
I mean, it is and it isn't. I'm just saying because you guys were pushing through. There was just something that didn't go your way. But how do you come from last year and use that as energy to come into this year as a captain? Like, what are you going to grab hold of?
I think the story goes a little bit further back. The game you're referencing this past year, we made to the Final Four and lost on a controversial goal where someone on the other team we were playing stepped in the crease, which would have been a turnover. He scores the goal in overtime, game ends, and they go to the NCAA championship, and we go home. But if you go to the 2 seasons we had prior to that, I mean, we could really go even further back. But the 2 seasons prior, we went 4-7, and then the season before we went 3-11. So we came into last year with zero, expectations, no ranking. And it was just us and us alone, and the only thing we were doing was proving to ourselves that we could play and that we could beat anybody. And we start the season out of the rankings, and slowly we kind of started getting some wins and getting a little bit more recognition. And we had to deal with what's it like to be ranked in the top 25? What's it like to be ranked, or top 20? What's it like to be ranked in the top 10? What's it like to be ranked in the top 5? And this was all new to us because the previous 2 years things just weren't going our way. And we dealt with that, and had some ups and downs through it, but we learned. And so now going back to how we're going to approach this year, I am grateful for the 2 seasons we had that were losing seasons. I wish they weren't, but we learned how hard it is to win, and not only to win, but to sustain that. Right. I mean, our mission as a team is to build and sustain a championship culture on and off the field, and it's hard. That's you can win a game, and that's hard enough. But then to continually repeat that over and over, the challenge just continues to grow.
Right.
But so how do I not only me, but how does the team, how do the other captains, how does all of our seniors and 5th years and even 6th years, like how do we approach this year? With expectations, because this year we have expectations. Last year we didn't. Right. But it's really going back to that mentality when I don't want to say when no one believed in us, but when all we did and all we focused on was working hard every day and believing in each other.
Right.
And not really letting that external media or external voices impact what our process was and what our day-to-day was and what we valued. We committed to our commitment values, our compassion values, and our competition values when there was no expectation. So if we can commit again to the Penn State lifestyle, commit to those 3 things this year, nothing changes for us.
Right.
And I think if anything, we get a boost of confidence from last year because we've seen ourselves in the position before, and we know we can do it now. It's well, with that confidence, let's stay humble, but also continue to live out the lifestyle that our coach has provided for us and our coach has mentored us through to see success, because we know it works.
Right.
So really, it's just the foundation has been laid over years and years of teams, but now it's to continue pushing forward with what we believe in, because it's a proven model of success.
Sure.
And really, it just comes down to how well we can execute, not only on the field, but with those 3 core values. And if we can stay true to those 3 things, then we believe we can do anything.
Yeah, let's go. I believe it too. I love how you come back to the idea that really what's really interesting, what really shapes this for you, isn't the winning. It was the not winning and the struggle to get to this spot, which imbues this with a lot more feeling and it's something that's more special because it had that counterbalance. So, because we oftentimes, our whole idea is like, I don't know if I like the word fail, but fail forward.
Right.
Like, this is always a growth experience, and sometimes you're just in different stages of that. And you kind of grow, you hit a spot, you plateau a little bit, and then you maybe go down, and then you kind of, so it's like a this kind of thing, it's not a this thing.
Right.
But you need the downs to really kind of get to the ups. So, with that idea, talk to us about, you suffered a major injury a little over a year ago.
Right.
You suffered this injury.
Right.
So take us through what you did to, like, where you were at mentally then and how you moved through it to get back to where you're at now.
Yeah, so a little more context. We make it to the Final Four as a team. Before the Final Four is the quarterfinal. We played West Point probably 6 months ago, this past May. In the second quarter of the game, I take a step that I've taken tens of thousands of times and twist, non-contact, tear my ACL and meniscus, and it was devastating. I've had one surgery before, but it was back in high school, so I've been pretty fortunate to not have a very injury-ridden career. But this is my senior year. We're having a chance to play for a Final Four, potentially a national championship, and unfortunately, my knee in that moment just it gave out.
Right.
But the biggest thing that I had to realize, or the biggest thing I had to overcome initially after hurting my knee, was understanding. Well, I was in the middle of a season. We just won the quarterfinal to go to the Final Four, and probably the biggest thing that I had to come to the realization of was that I still had a season to play. I still had a team to be a part of, and
Right.
I wasn't a captain on that team, but I was a senior defenseman, leader on the team, and it was just continue to be present for them and not worry about me, because I was going to get surgery at some point. I was going to take care of myself at another point, so there was no purpose there was no point in me, worrying about myself in that moment. We had one more week, 8 days at most left if we won a national championship. It was like, man, I'm going to do everything I can to help inspire our guys to go out and win and have more compassion for each other, compete harder, and give a little bit more of that, commitment to the lifestyle in that last week, just to help our team get any edge. Lost in overtime. It was a great game, and I was extremely proud and honored to be a part of that game, one on the sideline, but proud of the guys who stepped up. But I think, once the season ended and I started having to deal with the injury away from the team, the biggest thing that I had to realize was the way I spoke to myself about what happened was the first thing I needed to was the first thing I needed to address.
Sure.
You hear a lot of guys, in athletes in general, when they suffer a major injury, say, "Oh, I'm injured."
Right.
"Oh, I'm hurt right now." And by saying I'm injured, I'm hurt, it's not conducive for me growing, and it's not conducive for me to get to a mental state of, well, no, I'm not injured. I'm Jack. Like I'm not just an athlete. I'm not an injured athlete. I'm Jack, and I can overcome this. So the biggest thing was what were the words I was not only saying to myself, but when people asked me about it, how was I responding? And one of the big things, and I don't correct people because obviously there's a level of respect in language, but whenever someone asks me something like, "Oh yeah, I'm recovering from a surgery right now," or "I feel great, my knee's not injured, I have 2 healthy knees," like things like that. And for the context of the show, I'm 4 months post surgery, this conversation, I'm 4 months post surgery. So to some people, they might see that and be like, "Oh, I'm still injured," or I'm whatever. But I was like, no, I'm recovering right now. I have 2 great knees, and I know I'll get back to a point when this one's just as strong and maybe stronger than my other one. And but it's not my hurt leg and my non-hurt leg. This is my knee that had ACL surgery, and this is my knee that didn't have ACL surgery. And I think that the biggest thing especially for athletes, and this can expand even broader than just athletes, but the way we talk about ourselves and the way that we project ourselves out into the world, I think is something that isn't focused on enough, and has tremendously helped me through my process. And just mentally overcoming the idea of, being injured versus I'm on the path to getting healthy.
Sure.
And I'm on the path to getting back to not only where I was, but even, falling forward,
Right.
not failing forward, but being even stronger than I was
Sure.
before. But yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Just the way I talk about my injury and the way that I view, my one leg that had surgery versus my other leg that didn't.
Right. Well, for our program, words make worlds. The Bible says that. In the beginning, God said, "Words make worlds." Right. So I think what we say is so powerful, and that's such a big part of our program. Is what's the language used to talk to ourselves or about ourselves to other people, and because that's kind of how we're seeing ourselves. So if we could kind of really, and it sounds like you're really being intentional about changing the narrative or sticking to a better narrative, and back to the speakers, you're turning up that treble, or maybe you're amping the bass. I don't know which one it is, but you're getting away from the negative stuff, which our brain is drawn to, because your brain can like, I can look at my knee and say, when am I going to come back? How long is it going to take? Is it this? Is it that? But you're like, this is one of my two knees. And you just automatically are focused on something else. But most importantly, you're giving your brain a really good set point in that. So that's fantastic. So as we come around the corner a little bit, talk to me about, there's a term you use, or I've heard we talked about the back to X.
Right.
Back to X. First of all, that's dope. It's like Alpha 6, back to X. I'll put those two together. So talk to me about back to X. What does that mean to you?
Sure. We've been speaking, and I think one of the things that I'm fortunate for being on this show with you and having this conversation with you and this platform is just being able to give back and provide an example for the youth in the community, but just for anybody, just to maybe help one person along the way. And one of the things that I'm really looking to do is continue to help as many people as possible in whatever platform that I can. And back to X, one of the things that is really impactful to me is the story of what X is in the lacrosse field. And there's just so much that has gone in. It's almost like if we were at center field, or if you're in the red zone for football terms. But lacrosse, you have a goal and a crease, and then the position X is right behind the cage. It's like hockey; you can go behind the goal. So that's what we call X. And it's funny, my journey, back at X. My first ever play at Penn State, when I got on the field, and the last 2 minutes of a game we were blowing a team out in the first game of my freshman year, I get out there and I'm all nervous, and I'm running back at X, and I get to the back of the cage and I trip, I fall, the kid scores, and that's my first ever time playing lacrosse. Like, my family's there. My family's watching the live stream. Jack finally gets on the field, and he trips, eats it, and I get scored on. And after that, I made it my mission. I was like, that will never happen again.
Right.
And I've probably done, I'd say 10, 20, 30, 40,000 reps, back at X ever since. And I made it a mission to make sure that was going to be the best spot on the field for me.
That's your safe zone. That's your foundational spot, right? If you can get back to X.
That's one of the places I feel most comfortable. And it's ironic, now kind of looping back to the injury, that's where I got hurt.
Isn't that crazy?
But it's just, to me, and in reflection after my surgery, really after the injury, it was the spot that I started my career as a freshman.
As a fall. It's where you got hurt. Sorry, I'm not going to jump in, right?
Yeah.
But now it's your safety spot. Sorry, I hopped in on you.
No, I love it.
But I think that's so interesting. It's not what you look at, it's what you see, right? And your experiences, even though whatever they were, like, that's still my spot, man.
100%.
That's where it all happens. That's dope.
Yeah, so one of the things, just you bring up safety spot, the place I feel most comfortable. I feel comfortable there because of all the work that I've put in, all the
Man.
time and dedication to that spot. But it's also a spot where I've had some of my, biggest obstacles, and I'm not going to call it a failure because, I like that. I like to, honestly, I fell forward, I failed forward, and that pushed me into doing all the extra repetitions in the beginning. But then, there's the extreme discomfort there through the work, through falling, through the injury. But one of the things I'd like to do is share my perspective and my lessons. And in that spot, back at X, we'll see what that turns into in the future. But it's a spot that really humbled me. I've dedicated so much time to in trying to perfect my craft, and then I've also suffered I don't want to say I suffered, but I got one of my biggest injuries in that spot too. And there's just a lot of emotion and time and experience there, but I still go back because I know that I can overcome the obstacles that come my way. Like the first obstacle I overcame was I fell over the back of the goal, and that's like, how can we never do that again?
Right.
Now I have this other obstacle in my life that I'm currently overcoming, and it's like, well, I got hurt in that spot. Now, how do I build the confidence back up and get to that spot again where I'm not thinking about it at all? And that is just, it's a challenge that I'm excited for, and like I said, I'm thankful for, I'm grateful for, and but yeah, that spot on the field is pretty what's the word I'm looking for? It means a lot to me.
It's an important space, right?
It is.
But it's your operational space, and creating an operational environment that includes suffering, that includes room for failure, but that's not failure, it's growth. Right? That includes loyalty, it includes honor, it includes respect, it includes commitment, it includes compassion, it includes competitiveness. I hope I'm getting all of them in there, right? I'm packing them all. I'm trying to remember.
You're killing it.
Yeah, so all those things go into X, right? And now your job is to kind of slowly start to unpack those and create meaning around each one and make them, in your day, so you're intentional and it informs your performance on and off the field.
Right.
So, last question, just bringing this thing home, is so when we're talking about our program of character and gratitude and faith, why do you think this is important for a kid today?
Yeah. That's a great question. I was blessed with parents that instilled those values in me at a young age, and I believe that has been living those three values has, I don't want to say got me to where I am today, but it has shaped me into the young man I am now, and will continue to form me into the man that I aspire to become.
Right.
And it's almost these values are so universal,
Right.
and it doesn't matter where you come from or what you believe in. If you can have faith that you can be great and you can go out and accomplish, and you have the character to be respectful and to do the right thing when no one's looking, and then character, faith, and then you have the gratitude to understand that you can't get anywhere by yourself, and that you need other people, and that other people want to help you, and that being thankful for everything that comes your way. It doesn't matter what you do in life. If you can live by those three values, you're just setting yourself up not only to be, I don't want to say to be successful in the sense of a job or a career, because I don't think that's the most important thing, but in who you become as a person, and then what kind of community you can build, which I know is extremely important to your program. And I think the community piece in building stronger and more connected communities, at the end of the day is why I'm here with you, and what I'm trying to do in my own initiatives, and you're trying to do in your own initiatives. And so if kids can really learn those three things and can embody them and even have examples, like I see myself as an example. I'm not the example. I'm an example.
And
or
I
at
love
least
how
I
you
try
see
to
yourself
be.
at. That's how we should see ourselves. I'm an example for somebody else.
And I think honestly, later in life, if you can build up the foundation of character, faith, and gratitude, it also helps you realize that you have the obligation to give back.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people step away from that because they don't want to take on that responsibility. But it's one that when I look up to people and I see them doing it, it's honorable.
Right.
Another one of the family values I go back to. But so not only will it help them develop as young children, but as men and women growing up, it'll not only help them be great for themselves, be great for the people around them who have poured stuff into them and time into them, but it'll be great for communities in the world. And I think that's how we move the world, or this world, in a better direction.
All right. That's it, right? I'm Jack Posey, and I approve this message. That's a good one, man. Hey, Jack, I appreciate you being with us on the road to resilience and being a road warrior. And your stuff was completely inspirational. I can't wait for my kid to listen to this podcast. It's going to be a good one. So thanks very much for being here today.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Let's go. Oh, awesome. I'm Dave Wurtzel, and I approve this message.
Let's go.
Let's go.